Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another JoyLux Happy Hour. Some questions we've received tonight. Why does it take me longer to feel turned on than my partner? Why can't things be immediate and I'm ready to go? Why do I feel like my desire for sex has completely plummeted in the last year? And how do I feel sexy again? With everything going on in the world, both today as well as the past few years, I just feel so preoccupied and it's really hard to enjoy time with my partner. So how can I focus on making the most of my time with him? These are a few of the questions that we've received from you. As we do each month, we're happy to bring you another expert to help get some answers for these. As always, JoyLux is here to educate and inform on all of the things that happen for us as women. If you have additional questions over the course of the next hour, please feel free to put them in the comment box and we'll get to as many as we can. But in the meantime, we're going to go through the questions that we've received from you in advance. So yesterday was International Women's Day and it's a happy hour. So cheers to all of the amazing, brilliant women out there. Feel free to grab your version of a cocktail, a mocktail, sit back, relax, and let's learn from our expert. Debbie is an intimacy specialist, a psychotherapist, and a coach for women with a distinct passion for helping women. She focuses specifically on what you can do to have a very positive and connected relationship with your partner. And Debbie's had her own path, like many of us, to get to this point that hasn't always been easy. So she strives to help women shed any of that baggage that we come with and to truly find happiness and connection with their partner. So we're thrilled to have you, Debbie. Thanks for being here. Cheers to you, and take it away.
Hi there. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I hope everything is coming through loud and clear. I had the pleasure of being whisked off to Miami with my husband this week. So this is not my usual office setting. And Dave, of course, is like sitting right on the very next bed next to me. So if we need a male perspective on any of this, he's going to probably be roped in to help me out here. But I got a list of questions from you ladies, so thank you. And yes, my journey has been similar to yours in some ways. I lived a long sex-starved marriage, not with you, sweetheart, of course. It was with my former husband, so I had a lot of time to think about sex and intimacy and love and connection and things like that. So then I went on to create life-changing intimacy with my beloved. So you are my inspiration, baby.
And you're welcome.
Yes, thank you. So, so yes, I understand that. I'm also post-menopausal, right? So I know what that was like, and I'll talk if some of these questions I can answer even with some of my own experiences. And I am a user of the JoyLux product. In fact, I can say I had I started using it when I immediately knew when I hit menopause and I started experiencing pain, but knowing being in the profession that I am, I was prepared. I was like, I didn't suffer with it for years. I think I suffered with it for a week or two by the time that the device came to me, because I knew about this device and I'm like, I have to try this. I have to see if this is going to work. And it did. It totally cured my pain. And so much so that I slacked off using it recently for several weeks. And then Dave, you took me away for Valentine's Day weekend. And I didn't tell you this, but I actually forgotten to use it a few times prior. And I had pain. And luckily when I got back the next day, we got back on a Sunday, and then I used it, and then I was fine by the next day. So it was amazing how well this worked. So I am honored to speak. I'm not paid for I am not paid to appear here. I am not paid to endorse this product, but coincidentally, it's really worked for me. So,
and it is not a vibrator.
And it is not a vibrator, as my husband says, as we almost got busted carrying it through airport security. It was very interesting to watch the security people's face as they watched that pass through airport security. So that is one thing I would caution you about. It is be careful taking it through the TSA. Okay, so let's get to the questions. And the questions are always centered around, how do I get more pleasure? How do I get more connection with my partner? How do I get more, connection, intimacy, love, and orgasms? So I see that they are usually coming around this theme. And a lot of my answers will reflect a personal style and personal approach of mine, because I am an intimacy specialist for women, and I distinguish myself from therapy, right? My philosophy is that if you are struggling to enjoy your intimacy and your sex life, it doesn't mean you are broken. It's very likely that it's just that female sexuality is complicated, and emotional connection and male-female dynamics and relationships are complicated. And so if you're struggling in these areas, it's not that you really need to go to therapy and examine, dive deep into the pain, the problems, the past. Maybe you just need new skills. You need a mindset shift. You need to, even just talking about sex and intimacy normalizes it, and helps you get out of your shame, your inhibitions, your guilt. It's a lot of this negative conditioning that you just simply need a mindset shift about. And it really doesn't frequently have to do with your family of origin issues and things like that. A lot of us get negative messages about sexualities, about our bodies, and we don't understand how exactly things work, right? How the arousal cycle works. We don't know what our turn-ons on. Most people never asked us, what turns you on? You haven't explored the sexual menu. So there's so many reasons why you could, might not be enjoying your sex life. And it doesn't mean that you need to go head off to the therapist's office and talk about your pain, your problems. It might just be a matter of, you need to explore the sexual menu, normalize, give yourself permission to enjoy your body, enjoy your relationship, not feel this kind of shame and guilt, and try to learn what it is that turns you on. So my answers will probably reflect how I help women create sexy, loving relationships. And I'm glad that the questions are usually about relationships. I am not a specialist in, say, hookup culture. I'm not a specialist in this. And that is because I believe that for women to have great sex lives, most women, most normal, healthy women, let's face it, one of the elements we want is emotional connection. If we don't feel safe, valued, cherished even, we're not going to have a great sex life. We're going to have a sex life, but we're not going to have lovemaking. We're not going to have emotional connection. We won't feel comfortable asking for what we want if we're not with somebody that, at least to some extent, cares about us and that we can trust. So I specialize in women in relationships, and most of my answers will come down to, will kind of reflect that. So I hope that's okay. And most of them seem to be asking that. So, okay, the first question. And if I'm talking too fast, somebody nudge me. I get excited. I also, as a coach, I get to have a lot more fun with my clients than we would in therapy, right? Coaching is like sports analogy, right? It's fun. It's exciting. It's about learning new skills and such. So I might reflect that casual attitude because I'm not approaching this from a therapeutic way. Absolutely see a licensed mental health professional if your sexual challenges are the result of unresolved trauma, if they are the result of mental illness or other factors that would call for mental health interventions and such, by all means. But a lot of women, let's face it, have worked on their sexual issues, things that happened when they were younger or whatever for years, and this still doesn't guarantee you a good life, because a good sex life, that is, because the goal of most therapy is to take folks that are really struggling and get them to a baseline of normal. Okay. So, and especially, suffering, struggling, mental illness, trauma, get you to normal. But my belief is that there's plenty of women stuck in normal, because normal, let's face it, I mean, is not that great for a lot of women. Our sexuality has, for ever since the dawn of creation, has not really been celebrated. It's only a relatively new thing that we celebrate female sexuality, and we kind of expect orgasms and pleasure in the bedroom. So it's not unusual for women that, we've come from a culture, and all cultures, so let's face it, we're probably one of the most advanced cultures, but typically female sexuality has been repressed. It has been in service of a man, or I'm forgetting what else, but it hasn't been exactly like celebrated. And that's understandable. And I'm not going to say it's the patriarchy, because really, let's face it, there was not good birth control until just 2 generations ago, depending how old you are. 1 generation ago, my mother's generation maybe was the first to even have birth control. So procreation, that was the other thing. Women's sexuality has typically always been used in service of a man, repressed, or procreation, right? So female sexual pleasure is a relatively new thing, only since the 60s with birth control. So it's a relatively new profession, even sex therapy, sex coaching, expecting to have, great sex lives for females. So that's kind of not that ancient of a practice in many ways. So the first question is, I'm in my late 40s and my desire for sex has plummeted in the past year. How can I feel fun, sexy, and alive again? Great question. I think there is an epidemic of low libido, low sex drive in women. So it doesn't really necessarily matter the age, but coincidentally, late 40s is perimenopausal, right? So it could be that estrogen levels are dropping. It could be that she's stressed, it's with all the responsibilities of, being in your late 40s. This pandemic, stress is the biggest libido killer of all. So I would be curious to know why your desire for sex has plummeted. It could also be a relationship issue. It could be quite a few different things that cause your sex drive to plummet, and it could just be your hormones. Okay, that said, I will go and make a big umbrella statement that is going to cover a lot of these questions, and that is feeling libido, desire, horniness, if you are in a relationship especially, is not, it's too fleeting of a thing to base your love life on, to base your marriage on, your relationship on. If we just waited till we felt turned on to make love to our partners, especially, things happen, stress, kids, busyness, of dropping hormones, pain, all kinds of things could happen to interfere with that. So the desire for sex, I would like to separate libido and sex drive from desire for sex and lovemaking, desire for connection, and even arousal. They're quite actually different things. So the sex drive itself is largely what we might know as like horniness, right? And after women are very cyclical creatures, right? We're not men's desire is typically stronger than a woman's on average. They are producing millions and millions of sperm every day. Imagine that. So your man is producing that. Women are producing 1 egg. Usually our sex drive is really only ramped up around the time of ovulation, because from an evolutionary biology perspective, we are designed to procreate as humans. Men, women, both of us, that's one of the main primal human desires. So that our sex drive, our interest in sex peaks around ovulation is perfectly logical, because it ensures the survival of the species. Now, that said, we've confused our bodies with birth control and wanting sex for pleasure and such. So plenty of women wonder where their desire has gone, where their libido has gone. So we have low libido being the number one complaint of women in the Western world. And the Journal of American Medicine did a study not that many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And it found that 4 in 10 women struggled with, in the past year, either low libido, lack of pleasure, or pain. So it's unclear how much of that is low libido was number one, but it's unclear out of the 42%, how much fell into each category. But low libido is the number one sexual complaint of women. So there's so many reasons why this could be. But again, my point is that you have to cultivate desire for sex if you want to keep your sex drive going on past 40s, 50s, and beyond. So here's what I mean by that. Many of us lose that horniness, let's face it, after the first couple of years in a new relationship. So your body is kind of begging you to procreate when you are in the hot and heavy new stages of a relationship. And I'm sure most all of you have experienced that initial passion, but it rarely lasts more than a year or two. And the hormones actually involved in turn on shift. So your body's telling you both to procreate, and you have this hormone that's flooding you that makes you think about your lover all the time and really want to make love. And a lot of people get fooled into thinking that that's their sex drive, right? But that's not their sex drive necessarily. It's their temporary sex drive, which usually is the time leading to about the time you get married, and then it often suddenly falls off. It also, and this of course, everything I say doesn't apply to every woman. I should make this disclaimer right here. There's a huge variety in what people want, taste, preferences, desires, etc. So we can just say that there are hormonal similarities between women. From a point of view, I mean, we have similar bodies, right? We're innies, men are outies. We are estrogen dominant, estrogen driven. They are testosterone driven. We get a lot of often negative conditioning about sex and about our bodies. Men, to some extent do, but at different messages. So if I'm generalizing here, please forgive me, and I'll just take what's helpful to you out of this, but you could also feel free to comment or, follow me on Facebook. And I have a group for women as well, called More Intimacy in Marriage for Women. And you can just let me know whether this applies to you or whether it doesn't, because I rarely hear people talk with this level of, hey, this is, unfortunately the way it is for most of us. And it's like, what I always say is, just because you're struggling sexually doesn't mean you're broken. It means that sexuality for women is complicated. Okay, so this woman in her 40s, so her desire has plummeted in the past year. How can I feel like fun, sexy, and alive again? So there is so much of this question that is in our self-control. If we just wait until we feel horny, and coincidentally, our man feels horny at exactly the same time, this is like a recipe for a sex-starved marriage or relationship, right? So we can't just wait till the feeling overcomes us. Desire is something, however, that you can cultivate. You can cultivate it emotionally by spending loving time with your partner, right? Making sure your relationship is peaceful and, playful and enjoyable. So you can cultivate it by, improving your relationship. And that's why relationship coaching is a big aspect of my coaching, because that's one of the top reasons why women lose desire. They're pissed off at their man, right? For some reason, he's not doing it for me. So that's a big part of it. How do you fall in love again? So I would say there's emotional components. There's reducing your stress levels. If you are stressed out, if you are distracted, if you are up in your head, if you are too busy, of course you're not going to be in the mood for making love. So also totally normal. Get rid of your stress. And obviously there's many, many things you can do to get rid of your stress. I help women with practices that come from the science of positive psychology. Again, like I said, the traditional psychology is based upon helping people that are really struggling get to a baseline of normal, which is almost like a zero, right? Normal. Positive psychology is about taking people who are normal and helping them flourish, helping them be truly happy, helping them thrive. So, and it contains a lot of practices that are designed to reduce stress, promote resilience, optimism, right? Cultivating optimism. So for the caller here that wrote this, maybe she likes yoga, exercising, socializing, doing pleasurable activities, maybe not taking on so many job responsibilities if she can avoid it, getting plenty of sleep, right? So most stress can be impacted by lifestyle. We don't want to drug you necessarily. So here go, again, so many women end up on antidepressants because they feel stressed, and that will also kill your libido. I would say that's not even a side effect. It's an effect. The number of women is 2 out of 3, and also men too. So approximately 2 out of 3 people who take antidepressants to reduce their stress and anxiety, unfortunately might find themselves in another dilemma, which is the low libido, low desire for sex. So I would say that there's many things that a woman can do to feel sexy. I could spend like the whole time on this call practically addressing this one question, but let's just sum that one up, which is, why are you not in the mood? Is it your stress level? Are you not taking care of yourself? Are you having pain that you maybe need to heal? Are you not feeling attractive, and maybe you need to do things that make yourself feel more attractive, like, fix yourself up, get out of your sweatpants. We've been in sweatpants for 2 years, right? Put on some jewelry, perfume, things like that. Feel more attractive could also help you with your dropping libido and improving your relationship, right? So that you genuinely want to make love to your partner. And I'll answer that. I'll say that'll be the end of that question for now. But it'll be a theme in here, which will mind over matter, right? We don't just wait for this lightning bolt to strike us with the desire when we can actually cultivate it ourselves. Okay. Oh, here's a similar one. So the next question is, I'm too stressed to really enjoy intimacy with my partner. How can I quiet this stress and focus on making the most of time with my husband? Okay, so like I said, we are largely responsible for our own stress levels. Your husband can hardly do anything about that. Maybe he can take the kids or whatever it is that you are, something off your plate potentially, but generally speaking, your stress level is falling under your responsibility, and your partner has very little that they can do about it compared to what you can. So again, what are you doing for sleep, for stress, for self-care, for exercise, for spending time together? I would also say, if you're very stressed, stop numbing yourself with screen time. People think that they are relaxing by scrolling their screens all this time, scrolling the screens, binging Netflix, but in truth, that is a numbing behavior. It numbs you from stress temporarily, right? But it does not do anything to actually relieve your stress. And in fact, depending on what you're looking at, let it be the news, posts that give you anxiety, posts that make you feel less than, and things like that, it could actually be increasing your stress. So I would suggest that in addition to doing self-care and other stress relief, I would focus on spending less time on the screen. A lot of us are a lot less busy than we actually think we are if we just stop spending so much time staring at screens, which genuinely does not relax us. So go spend some time in nature, exercise, socialize, and do things that genuinely reduce your stress. Deep breath. Breathing. Breathing is a big stress reliever. How often do we stop to just breathe, to belly breathe, to take that breath down deep? We breathe shallowly and then we feel stressed out. So before I take the next question, let's all take a couple of breaths. And feel your stress already starting to dissipate. Breath is a big tool in my intimacy coaching for women. It's also one of the key ingredients in Tantra, sacred sexuality, is breathing. So we'll get back to that in some other questions. Okay, here we go. My partner and I aren't having as much sex as we'd like. How do we get back in the groove? Should we schedule time for intimacy, or will that take the fun out of it? My advice, absolutely schedule time for intimacy. If you are just going to wait until you both feel in the mood, repeating myself again with like, I'm in the mood, are you in the mood? And it's late at night and you're busy and you're finally like at 11 o'clock at night, it's the last thing before you tumble into bed, then that is a recipe for a sex-starved relationship. So again, don't wait till the mood strikes, be proactive. And that scheduling time for intimacy is awesome. because you can look forward to it. And anticipation is one of the keys to well-being, is if you have things to look forward to. I read this wonderful quote years ago that I've always thought was wonderful, which is, the key to happiness in life is something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. So if I don't have anything, like right now, for once this vacation is over, I'll be like, Dave, we need to do something. We need to get something on our calendar because now I need something to look forward to. So for months, I've got to savor this opportunity to take this vacation so I get extra benefit out of it. So scheduling time for intimacy also gives you the extra benefit of looking forward to it and making it so much more likely to happen. My beloved and I, hi Dave.
Hello.
We have Sacred Sexuality Sundays. So every Sunday, we don't plan anything. We don't plan to see people. We don't plan to do errands. It is just our intimate time to connect, to make love for hours, because we are tantric practitioners and we like it. Okay, an hour at least. Sometimes more, 2 hours or more, right?
Yeah.
So we keep that sacred for us, and we even name it that, Sacred Sex Sundays. So I suggest Sundays, Sunday morning. It always starts nice, coffee in bed, and hot tub. We like hot tub, and we always just put our sensuality, our connection time as a priority then. And then we can also, of course, make love during the week. It's less scheduled then, but we always know that we have Sundays. And the neat thing is so here comes Sunday, and I'm like, I'm not in the mood. I'm in a crappy mood, but because I have scheduled it, now I'm like, well, we scheduled it, so I'm going to go get in the shower, and then I'm going to go put on something cute, and then I'm going to go, set the room nice. You get yourself in the mood, right? So even though I'm not in the mood, I know that I have already committed to it. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to get myself in the mood. And guess what happens when you get yourself in the mood? When you set the scene, when you look cute, when you are, I don't know, sometimes might even pour a cocktail or something like that. Guess what? You're going to enjoy yourself. Right? So don't, again, kind of comes back to the theme. Don't wait until the mood just strikes you. Create the mood within yourself. Okay, I hope that answered the question. Will that take the fun out of it? The opposite, I think, is true. Waiting until the last minute, like, oh, we haven't had sex in weeks, that will take the fun out of it. Or getting pressured, like, gee, we haven't had sex in weeks, or something like that. That will take the fun out of it. Knowing that every Sunday you have dedicated time, and you've taken, the kids off the table or whatever, they're not going to interfere because this is your time. That does make it more fun, not less fun. I have to drink some water, and then I'll be right back. I got this one. I'm 51 years old and experiencing a lot of the intimate changes that come with menopause. Dryness, reduced sensation, a loss of interest in sex. I've been following JoyLux, and the VFit Gold device looks interesting. What is VFit, and can it help me be more confident and pleasurable? Yeah, if one of the ladies from VFit would like to join in here and share, that would be great. I also, like I said, I can speak up from my own experiences, and I will tell you that I have all of those things happen to me when I hit menopause. Dave, plug your ears, because I know you hate to hear this. No, both ears. Put your phone down and plug both ears, please. He hates to hear this. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, when I hit menopause and my sex drive went down to zero. I could take it or leave it, honestly. If I never had it again, I probably would have been okay, except that I love sex. I love my husband. I love to make love. I get pleasure from it. All horniness went away, and I know I don't think I'm unusual in this regard. And I'm a person that thinks and talks about sex all the time, but my body lost its desire, its need. Let's put it this way. It didn't lose its desire. Again, I want to distinguish that. It lost its physical need to have sex. And that happened at menopause, which from an evolutionary biology perspective, I can't get pregnant anymore. I can't perpetuate the species. It makes sense. So I decided to really just plow forward and be like, I love sex, right? I love to make love to my husband. I usually use the word making love in my coaching, especially with women too. I use the word making love because it's so much nicer, right? Animals can have sex. Porn stars can have sex. Couples in love make love. So that is a whole different spin on it. So if you are thinking about it as making love, connecting, experiencing pleasure together, well, you're going to want to do it a lot more. You're not going to wait for horniness to strike. So yes, you have to overcome that. The VFit helps. Coconut oil, I buy it by the gallon. You can buy a gallon of coconut oil at Costco, right? And you have to stop, you have to treat your love life as a priority, as a skill, maybe learn new things, explore. I think Tantra is wonderful. I help my clients learn Tantra, even if they are not ultra spiritual. You can unplug your ears now. You can unplug your ears now. Oh, he just doesn't want to hear that because, he's a male and it bums him out. But I say, we still have plenty of lovemaking, right, Dave? Still good? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, right, because we enjoy each other and such. So, again, keep your relationship with your partner as wonderful as it could be. Spend quality time together. Feel loving and connected and look at it as lovemaking. And then you will make time for it, even though your body is not craving it anymore. Okay? I hope that helps. This will help me. Okay. Why does it take women longer to feel turned on during lovemaking? Is there anything I can do to increase arousal or help my partner understand it takes me a while to get in the mood? Well, it's a biological fact that women take longer to get turned on during lovemaking. And I think, there hasn't been a lot of research into the anatomy of female arousal until very recently. So if you were growing up, we didn't get much sex ed, let's face it, how to put a condom on a banana, right? Talking about sexually transmitted diseases and don't get pregnant, right? So we didn't get much in sex ed. And so, so the fact that it takes women longer to feel turned on during lovemaking is on average a fact. There's always going to be women that are different and men that are different in there. But the bell curve is women take 10 times longer than men to get turned on during lovemaking. So your average guy, especially as a young guy, he's turned on like 0 to 6 inches in 60 seconds. It takes a woman an average of 20 minutes to get turned on, to get that turned on. Some women, 40 minutes.
Brush our elbow.
What's that?
Brush his elbow.
Brush his elbow and he's turned on if he's a young guy, right? So it's totally normal that a woman would take 10 times as long as a man to get turned on. So most men don't realize this because they grew up thinking sex education is what they saw on porn. So the porn is geared towards getting a guy off as quickly as possible, pretty much. So the women are always ready. Of course, they are actresses. That is not the way a real woman makes love, gets turned on, so you are perfectly normal to take longer. How can you help your partner understand it takes you a while? Share this video. There's a book called Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski, which is it's a giant volume, but that is one of the key things in how long it takes a woman to get aroused, because women and men in utero, okay, before we were born, for the first couple of months of gestation, males and female babies are the same. And as part of some of my sex coach training, we actually had to watch, a video of a gender reassignment surgery. And in gender reassignment surgeries, they basically turn these parts that are totally analogous to each other. So our female vulva is analogous to the male penis, right? Our ovaries are, homologous. Our ovaries are homologous to the testes. And we have, surprisingly, as much erectile tissue underneath the surface of our vulvas as the average male has, but it's all buried. 90% of it is buried underneath the surface like an iceberg, right? So I would say that it takes much longer. The reason it takes us more to get aroused is two, I think it's in our head. It's in our head. We're in a distracted head. Women are famous for multitasking, right? Men are famous for being very singular and focused. So a man is turned on because he's very singular and focused. We still need to clear the cobwebs of all the other things we are thinking about and relax and come into the moment. And that can definitely be a practice for us. It can be very hard for a lot of women. But on top of it, because of the way our vulvas are structured, it takes us 10 times longer to get that erectile tissue actually engorged with blood. Believe it or not, it's like a man getting an erection. His penis is filling with blood. We actually get that when we are fully aroused, and it takes, because it's all this like nooks and crannies as opposed to being direct, it takes much longer. So help your partner understand it is your anatomy. You are normal. You are normal. I'm going to keep saying that throughout this. So not in the mood for sex, you are normal, but you can do something about it. Not takes you longer to get aroused, you are normal, but take some communication about it. Okay. So all of this is normal. Lately, it takes me, so the next question is, as I used to have no problems reaching orgasm, but lately it takes much longer to get there if it happens at all. What can I do to bring my climax back? This is a hard question because the orgasm is a function of the autonomic nervous system, and it is like a reflexive motion and such. So it's very hard to say. I mean, you could bring toys into the bedroom, of course. Maybe if you hadn't experimented with them before, you can take more time. You can take more steps to turn yourself on in advance of lovemaking. So it might be there and just take longer. So what are you doing to put yourself in the mood in advance? Like, are you dressing sexy and putting on perfume and making the room nice and neat and clean, and so you're not bothered by those socks on the floor and things like that? So what are you doing to create a container for sensuality? Then we have the issue of start focusing on pleasure instead of orgasm, because the more you are up in your head thinking, am I going to come? Am I going to come? Am I taking too long? Am I taking too long? The less likely your orgasm is actually to happen. So focus on the journey. This is why it helps to be in a loving relationship too, because then you're enjoying your partner and you're enjoying being touched by your beloved. You're not just chasing orgasms, because just chasing orgasms is not necessarily going to lead to the maximum pleasure. If you focus on enjoying the journey, ironically, this will make it more likely to happen. So I encourage my women when I'm coaching them is we focus on pleasure rather than just chasing orgasms. And that's also how tantric sacred sexuality is based around enjoying the moment, being very present in the moment and not being like all up in your head, which being worried about whether you're going to climax or not is putting you up in your head, making it less likely to happen. So relax. Do what it takes to turn yourself on, take your time, and take the pressure off yourself. Take the pressure off yourself. Okay. Okay, vaginal atrophy and dryness have made sex painful, sometimes impossible. Okay, first of all, I would say try the VFit. Try some other methods. Try estrogen internal, estrogen pills, something like that. I would see a gynecologist, right? First, see your gynecologist to see if there's anything that can be done about it. Dryness, my goodness, coconut oil by the gallon, lubricants, So dryness is not going to be an issue if you're prepared for it. But the question is, what can we do to enjoy intimacy without sex? Dave, would you like to answer that from a guy's perspective? What can a woman do to enjoy intimacy without penetration?
Blowjob.
Yeah, blowjob. Dave, I tell
Blowjoy.
Dave, blowjoy. I like to call it a blowjoy. Blowjoy and hand joy. Because if you do it with love and you love your partner and you're really into touching and being with each other and enjoying each other, then it's not a job. It's a joy.
Log rides.
Shut up. Don't say that. Okay. All right. Actually, Dave made a really good point. So he kind of said it in a really funny way, which is, what did you say, Dave?
Log rides open.
He said the log ride's open. If you don't know what that means, he's suggesting that you might enjoy anal sex. So that could be something. You could, a lot of women like it. So you could explore that.
A lot of women don't.
A lot of women don't. Fair enough. A lot of women don't. But a lot of that's up in our heads too, though. It's about the, the dirtiness aspect of it and such. So, so there's that possibility. There's oral sags. There's fingers. There's tongues, and a lot of this will apply too, because a lot of partners also have erectile dysfunction the older they get. 50% of men in their 50s struggle with ED. 60% in their 60s. And so on. So the same idea here, like having intimacy without sex, having, oral sex would be pleasurable, for instance. And just like hugging, touching, squeezing, tantric, it also doesn't necessarily involve penetration and such. So that's what I help my clients enjoy, that aspect as well. And again, try the VFit and the medical. Don't give up on that. Okay, my body has changed a lot during menopause, and I'm not as comfortable with how I look. Well, join the club. Let's face it, none of us are getting any younger. And as Americans, we are not getting any thinner either, right? So you are in good company. You are normal with not feeling a lot of body confidence. What can I do to get my body confidence back? Well, for one, your partner is probably, it's assuming, haven't gained 80 pounds, right? Let's see. Your partner is probably not as bothered by the changes in your body as you are, right? We women tend to be more judgy about our own selves than even our partners are, assuming our partner's a man, right? So he's just, he just wants you to be enjoying yourself, to have that sexy body, to have that what he thinks is your sexy body pressed against him. He is much more concerned about that than how perfect it is, right? How, it doesn't look like Instagram models. Even models have eating disorders. Everybody, most women have issues with their body. So hopefully you have a partner that loves your body. That would make it nice. It's like, here's what I like to say. You're the only naked in the room. So ask your partner what, I don't know, fish for compliments from your partner. Try to see if your partner is happy with your body and just wants more intimacy, which is not surprising, because what happens when a woman is not body confident? She doesn't want to make love to her partner anymore. So she withholds, right, Dave?
Yep.
So she withholds, and that is far worse to him than you having fun with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't know what to say about that, but, and also work out. Here's another interesting thing about exercise. Exercise is great for your sex life for 4 reasons. It reduces your stress levels. It puts you in a better mood. It makes you feel better about your body. Even though a day, a half an hour of exercise, an hour of exercise didn't actually change your body, you feel better about your body, don't you, when you're exercising? So that is get some exercise. That'll make you feel more confident about your body, especially if you lose a few pounds and such. And then the last reason why exercise is so good for your sex life is it brings blood flow into your genitals, kind of like the VFit, right? It increases blood flow, and increased blood flow is key to arousal. I'm a single mom whose kids are newly out of the house, and I'm thinking about dating again. What do you recommend for a 50-something woman who hasn't been on a first date in years? Wow, a lot has changed. So the internet is probably how most people meet nowadays. And the dating market on the internet is largely a sex market. So, wow, if you got to figure out what your goals are. If your goals are to have fun and just have sex and get back on the horse again, then you're going to find lots of good company. If your goal is settling down and finding a marriage-minded man, it's going to be a lot harder, because there's a ton of cheap sex out there in the market. And now the norm is, I would give you a warning, which is the norm is just, people have sex early and often. Right? So be careful, because there is a big emotional toll to be had if you are going to become lovers with somebody and then get ghosted, for instance, or get disappointed. So for women, for normal, healthy women, we are emotionally attached to our lovers. So be careful of who you give your body to, because you're likely that your heart will follow, and then you will make wrong decisions. You will attribute good attributes to this person. The norm is now that people actually start having sex before they even are in exclusive relationships. It's like, so don't assume because you have somebody has become your lover now that they're in an exclusive relationship with you unless you explicitly have that agreement, right? So that is the new norm in the dating market. Honestly, my focus is helping married women stay leave your marriage, and you might find somebody way worse, right? You're starting out at zero again. And in the meantime, your kids suffer and things like that. So I'm not saying anyone should stay in an abusive marriage, but if you're looking at your husband and saying, I need to get out of this marriage because I'm not happy, make yourself happy. There's a lot we can do to make ourselves happy. There's a lot we can do to fall in love with our husbands again, and vice versa. I call my coaching program the Cherished Women Program because I help my women become their husband's cherished woman again, which I think is what we really do want. So be careful, because the dating market is just not stacked in your favor as a 50-something-year-old woman. So try not to take it personally. You're going to need a lot of resilience, and I wish you a ton of luck. Breathe. Okay, this is a tough one. This last, I might only have time for one more question here, which is, my husband has been struggling with erectile dysfunction lately, and I can tell that it is affecting his self-esteem. What can I do to help him through this emotionally and physically? Wow, Dave, can you help me with this one? Come sit in here. Come sit in behind me. Not that this is you, right? This is not you.
Not me, but I mean.
But come on.
I'm not going to say that it's never happened.
Oh, okay. So if now I do have this. I have clients that have this situation. It's very hard to come up with a good solution because I don't coach the man, right? The man, it is so anathema to a guy, to most men, to talk to a stranger, to go to, like, for instance, to go to counseling, marriage counseling. Let's say you want to go to marriage counseling or sex therapy. So, oh no. Okay. It says pretty glitchy. I didn't even see the chat here.
Mm-hmm.
Are we okay? Okay. So getting back to the point here. Good. Okay, good. So the answer is not necessarily sex therapy, marriage counseling, things like that. What typically happens, though, is that the man will stop and shut down his sexual desire. He won't try to seduce you, right?
Because he'll be embarrassed.
Yeah, he'll be embarrassed. If you don't have a relationship, here's the thing. If you don't have a relationship that feels very, very safe and loving and close, let's say you have a high conflict relationship where you're fighting a lot, he's just not going to want to risk it.
He's not going to risk being vulnerable.
Yes, it is such a vulnerable thing. A man's sexuality is almost completely tied up in his penis function, right? His size and function, right? Dave, come on. So,
okay.
Yeah, right? So his sexuality, since he has been, 12 years old, has been tied up in this penis, right? So for him to lose his function is devastating.
It's like losing your best friend.
It's like losing your best. You're so cute. Yes, that would be. So, so I hope that you will try things like Cialis and Viagra and such, because they work for many men, but not all men. So there's a challenge. So I would encourage that.
Pretty good success rate. I understand.
Yeah. So I would absolutely encourage him to try that. See a doctor. And let's see what else. Exercise. Oh gosh. You know what? I mean, so much is medical conditions, and medical conditions are leading to erectile dysfunction. Obesity in men is leading to erectile dysfunction. Motivate your man to exercise and get in shape, because it's about blood flow. An erection is literally blood flow, and you need good circulation. Oh yeah. Yeah. So also show up sexy. The biggest turn on for a man is that you desire him. So show up and desire him, right?
Yeah.
Show up and desire him. That could be the ticket. You might be like, ooh, I'm afraid to seduce my husband because maybe he can't get it up. And so I just pretend that I'm not interested. And now you've just created a cycle where you're not seducing your husband. You're not interested. So yeah, show up sexy or yourself. Seduce him, initiate. Don't make him initiate all the time. Show up playful, sexy, be his girlfriend. But I would say that the big issue is because so many marriages are so rocky, they're not this very safe environment. If a man has erectile dysfunction and he doesn't feel very, very safe with you, you're not going to come up with a solution together. So get your relationship happy, loving, safe, trusting again. I help women with this as well. You're responsible for your own happiness. Your man is not a big hairy woman. He is so different from you. How to get your man to be your hero again, to want to please and delight you by showing up as his woman, right? Showing up as his girlfriend. I like to say, be your husband's girlfriend, be his sweet, sexy girlfriend, and suddenly you get the man that courted you. So if you are having erectile dysfunction issues and you're not feeling like a team, like you are sexual explorers together, then you're going to have a lot more challenges, and you may never solve this problem because it doesn't help as we get older, right? It's going to happen eventually to most men. So, then again, try to increase the intimacy in other areas. Although it's a hard sell to a man. he is so penis-centric that, he could always make love to you, right? So if he's really into, if he's really loving you and really wants to please you, then he can make love to you. But it's also, there's some solutions for the man. Anyways, this is my beloved husband, David. I love you. The biggest desire fuel for me is love. I just feel like if you're not inside of me, you're just too far away.
I'm gonna go now.
Okay, I've embarrassed him. Now I've embarrassed him. So let's see. Anything else? Bye, beloved. You're very far away from me right now. I miss you.
Yeah. Read your texts or your chat.
So someone says, I can't accommodate my husband anymore. What do I do? So I don't know if that means physically. I assume that means physically. And I would suggest the VFit and talk to your gynecologist. And also make sure you're thoroughly turned on. Oh, Dave, stop that. The log ride's open. So if you can't physically accommodate your husband, I bet you are not very turned on, because here's the thing. The vagina is very short until you are turned on. And then your cervix, as you get more and more turned on, it's called tenting, where it moves up and back, and it can make room for the largest penis, but if you are thoroughly turned on. So my advice would be, besides looking into the medical side of it, to make sure you are very, very turned on. And also probably the VFit could help you a lot too. So let's see. I don't see any other questions here. Anyone have any other questions? Well, I'm Debbie Elzea. Debbie Marielle Elzea is my middle name. My Facebook group for women is called More Intimacy and Marriage for Women. And then my coaching is about be your husband's girlfriend. Thank you. Be your husband's girlfriend. There's a quiz on my More Intimacy website. What are you most needing in your intimacy? And it's based upon a paper or a structure. My coaching is based on women need 6 things for great sex lives. And in fact, I published a paper recently with the American Association of Family Therapists. And it's like women need knowledge. We need emotional connection. We need time. We address some of these on here. We need embodiment. That's the ability to get out of our busy heads and thinking about the past and the future and things like that, and be very present in our senses and in the present moment. So I call that embodiment. We also need worthiness and confidence. We address that too with the body image and things like that. And then we need creativity, right? Because bedroom boredom affects us all too, as well. So that is the end of our program here. I hope to hear from you, ladies. Join my group. I offer a complimentary call to women that are wanting to get their sexy marriages enhanced and ideal. And I thank you for tuning in.